What is up, everybody? Welcome to The Stack. I'm Alex.
I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
And on The Stack, we talk about a bunch of books that have come out this week and review them. And we got a ton to talk about here.
We got a stack on our hands. Some stacks aren't stacks. This stack's a stack. Welcome to Stacktown.
These stacks are stacking?
I gotta say, this is a giant-size stack, so appropriately, we are starting it off with giant-size X-Men #1 from Marvel, written by Collin, Kelly, and Jackson Lanzing, and Al Ewing, art by Adam Kubert and Sara Pichelli. This is the first of a series of one-shots that are taking Miss Marvel and shooting her throughout the X-Men history, as revealed here, though also was revealed in Solicits. The big villain is kind of a new version of Legion, who is trying to destroy the X-Men's history for unknown reasons that we may find out later. And in addition, to the back of each of these issues is a Revelations backup story that will tease something big and new coming up in the world of X-Men. Now, I'll also mention, before we get to the book proper, for anybody who hasn't listened to it or watched it, we do have a State of X show that we did where we talked about the state of the X-Men line and did discuss going into this as the next big event, our thoughts on it and our thoughts on where we want the X-Men to go. That all said, the book is the book. You got to judge the book on itself. What'd you think about this?
Yeah, you have to judge it by its cover and its cover alone, I think.
First of all, great cover, no notes, no comments.
Oh wow, no notes.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say anything specific about the cover. I'm just gonna say great cover.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I'm curious to hear from Pete.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because we're getting a giant size X-Men, and it's #1. But I was like, well, wait a second. I've read a giant size X-Men #1 before, but that's not this one. So, what?
Did you think you were in like a Groundhog Day type situation for a minute?
Yeah, I feel like
I think Pete actually is in a groundhog situation. That's what I think. That's
don't
what
drive
Pete's been
angry
in for a while.
Just corner of your eye.
By the way, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but it's me, Ned Ryerstein.
Oh, Ned!
Ned the head, Needle Nose Ned, Ned the head, Ned Ryerson.
Ryerson.
We could do it all day.
Yeah.
Anyway, I really like this book, I would say. I was all right with NYX, which Collin, Kelly, and Jackson Lanzing did right before this. But
that was one I really loved.
That you really liked. But I think they took a step up here. Maybe this was the story that they really wanted to tell, but they crushed it with the Miss Marvel character, really nailed her. Her relationship with Bruno at the beginning was really well done. And this conflict that they're setting up between Miss Marvel and Legion is very interesting philosophically, getting to the thing that we were discussing in State of X with like a lack of philosophy. Legion wants it all to end, it seems like, and Miss Marvel, of course, is like trying to figure out her history and her place in the X-Men, so this thrusts her into a very palpable situation for her. And I also like the Revelations backup story as well. It introduced a new potential villain for the X-Men that I thought was really interesting. So I was pleasantly surprised how much I dug this.
Oh, nice.
I also like the backup. Like a happy uncle.
Like, oh, how nice for you.
Yeah, that's great.
It is. Wow, you're really enjoying playing T-ball, son, said Pete to his fictional son, Alex. I also like the backup. I like this new villain and clearly setting someone up that is very powerful and already ready to defeat the X-Men. This book, though, is doing a thing that I feel like we did talk about in the State of X podcast, where it's like, hey, we're still sort of doing Krakoa. And, like, this is about literally seeing Krakoa and being, like... And it makes me think that this Legion versus Ms. Marvel is going to be about, like, destroying Krakoa or somehow erasing the X-Men's past, specifically the Krakoan era. And I will say, like I said on State of X, I wish this was a little more forward-leaning. But it's interesting how much Ms. Marvel has become such the sort of focus, or at least like when it comes to an event, she's like the lead of the tip of the spear of the X-Men. Mm-hmm. When she says in this book so much like, yeah, I don't actually have my mutant powers showing really because Inhumans trumped it. So like, I don't know what my deal is. And I'm like, we're being very coy with that, and it's like, get us there to that. This would be a great issue to reveal that in here. If she is like the Time Warrior that has to, repair the timeline for the X-Men, and that's part of her power set. Like that's cool, and that rhymes with like the Hope, the Wolverine versus or Cable versus Bishop going into the future to protect Hope or something like that. Like that's a cool idea. But I like Legion as this villain. There's some reveals to be done here, it seems like, so that's cool.
I think this was a weird setup to something that I think could be very exciting. I like Kamala. I think she's great. I think Legion being a bad villain is great. I think that showdown could be a lot of fun. You know what I mean? We have this super douchey kind of villain, and Kamala's very bright and kind of, so I feel like that's a fun kind of to see these two clash. But yeah, I didn't get to be excited about this premise in this. It was just kind of a weird setup where I was like, this isn't giant size X-Men. This is something new, but it's done in a way that's kind of like, hey, you know that thing you love? Real quick, I'm going to ruin that for you while I introduce this new idea. You know what I mean? Where it's like,
you think this did ruin? I think this was very respectful to the X-Men stuff from the past.
Well, I do wonder. I mean, I agree with you. I think that it was respectful because you have Miss Marvel geeking out about everything. Mm-hmm. But I wonder what the repercussions are going to be here because she messes with time in a really big
very
way.
Casual about it. Even all the characters are like, "You're from the future, sick. Don't do too much." But like, let's go do this.
Can I just mention the Cyclops moment because that is such like a deep continuity thing where Cyclops is doing his classic like screaming on the Westchester Mansion lawn, and Kamala comes up and he's like, "Oh hey, how are you doing? Did you time travel?" And then he goes in and talks to Professor X and is like, "Yeah, well, when I was time traveling, we were on the New Champions together." And I was like, "Oh right, okay." That took it was only a page, but there was definitely a page. I'm like, "What is going on here? How is everybody so casual about this?"
Yes, that part I was like, that's a messy part of the continuity that I think I'm ready to just be like, let's just move past that because that's the Bendis moving the X-Men, young X-Men into the future, and then they hung around for like way too long.
Well, but then they also they forgot it so that the continuity could work, and that there was a whole other miniseries where they're like, but we got to remember it. And so
we got to remember some of it was fun, right? And I'm not saying it wasn't fun. It's just from a messy storytelling perspective, I'm like, we don't need to say it all the time. Like when I go hang out with my family, like I just did over Memorial Day, I'm not saying every continuity we have. I'm just like, yeah, we're a family. That's it. We don't have to go and how I shot off that rocket that I wasn't supposed to. What do you think, Alex, especially about the sort of kitty prideification?
Yeah,
Ms. Marvel here.
What do you mean by the Kitty Pryde?
It seems like she's taking Kitty Pryde's role and just being like, "I'm the new Kitty Pryde."
Well, but Kitty
I think
Pryde
there's some rhyming, there's some costuming, rhyming happening visually in this, and I do think, not in a negative way. I'm not trying to light you up, and I don't think it's bad, but she is being positioned as like this young character that is meant to be the future of the X-Men, in I think a very similar fashion to Kitty Pryde.
I do think they're always chasing that Kitty Pryde high with the X-Men.
You are. We know you are.
Yes, I am. I'm always on the street. Give me some of that sweet Kitty Pryde. Injected.
Where's Alex? Oh, he's out there on the Pride ride chasing.
He is.
He's doing that Shadow Cat.
Yeah,
that's where
he's Shadow Cat boxing.
Yeah, that's the name, street name for the drug. Anyway, my point being, though, that that was a very impactful character. It was a very impactful introduction, and I think in a similar way, probably not exactly the same level, but like how we constantly compare characters to Spider-Man and like, oh, that's a Spider-Man type character, a Spider-Man type origin. I do think Kitty Pryde, that like fresh-faced, injected into the X-Men that are generally morose and very serious, they're always trying to add those characters. So I don't have a problem with it. It makes a lot of sense to me.
Well, what about this? If somebody's screaming on the lawn and shooting a laser up into the sky, would you go and bother them right away? Or would you maybe like give them a little time before you would walk up to them and start?
De-laser?
Yeah.
Probably give us some time to de-laser, I think.
Yeah, I would think so.
Safety first.
What if they do that like all the time though? Because I feel like Scott Summers,
Cyclops
especially back then,
always out there just shooting up the sky. just being angry. He's like, junk mail.
He hates, he got a lot of, what he did is he signed up for one of those like 6 CDs a month services. And he wanted them all for a penny, and he was just getting really raked over the coals. He's like, I don't really need this lit CD. They're a one-hit wonder.
Oh my God.
I don't need Fuel's Shimmer. I don't need the whole album. I could just get the one song,
Wow, dude.
Speaking of lots of things, we have lots of other comics to talk about, so why don't we move on?
I do have one more thing.
Wait, he had more deep cut bands they wanted.
I had one more thing. You want to get into 90s one-hit wonders? I will name them. Name them. All right. But no, I wanted to say, there's a moment in here where Kitty Pryde, where Ms. Marvel is stepping out in her new uniform. She's like, I had to talk to Mr. Fantastic. This miniskirt's too short. And I was like, what a funny idea that Reed Richards is in the Baxter building being like, what should Miss Marvel wear? Probably a mini, maybe like a little yellow top. But like he's like designing, like it's just him coming up with this comic is saying he's coming up with the fashion choices in the middle of his job as parent, like interdimensional family leader, like all that. And he's like,
that's funny. I thought it was just because he's stretchy too. You know what I mean? So he would kind of like talk about better uniforms and for stretchy people. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was definitely like an unstable molecule uniform, but she was implying that he chose a mini skirt for her, and I find that to be. He's like, I'm gonna get that girl in a mini. She needs to be wearing a mini skirt.
Yeah. So you think it was creepy? He was being a creep.
I'm not saying it's creepy. It's strange though. Well, the implication being like, I got to talk to him. My dad wouldn't like the clothes that this strange man's dressing me in is a little strange.
So let me get this straight. Before we moved on, you wanted to talk about your hatred of miniskirts real quick before.
No. I guess I'm saying it's a strange comment to add to the idea here that she ordered a costume that was shipped to her immediately from Reed Richards.
I just wanted to make a joke about miniskirts at the time, Justin.
Okay, well, I'm just saying they went out of their way to point to Reed Richards' role in choosing her clothes. Okay, so that's what I'm saying.
Fair enough. Absolute Martian Manhunter, number 3 from DC Comics, written by Dennis Camp, art by Javier Rodríguez. We're continuing to explore the strange mystery of this world where we have a Detective John Jones. He's seeing a Martian presence who is battling against a white Martian presence that is forcing everybody to set fires. It gets very dark in this issue. Pete, you seem stoked about this one, so why don't you start?
Yeah, let's just take a moment and just acknowledge how awesome this cover is real quick. The artistry.
What's awesome about it? Yeah.
Hang on, let's just take a moment.
Oh, you just want to take
silence?
Hey, come on. Hey, you don't ruin it. You know what I mean?
And do you want to say anything about it? Do you want to say?
No, I just want to sit in the artistry. It's beautiful. It's amazing. It's really impressive.
And if you're listening to our audio podcast, I think you can hear what Pete was saying.
Yeah.
Let me say, we can't do 30 moments of silence every episode of the Stack when you like a cover.
Yeah. Also, a moment of silence is like the thing died, right?
Well, I don't know. It doesn't always have equal depth. But I just...
Wait, are you saying you eat a particularly good meatball sub from Subway and you're like, moment of silence to my sandwich artist?
I do like to take moments when they're nice, you know what I mean, just to savor them. And the art in this thing is worth taking a moment for because it is just beautiful. The inside of this book is an achievement of artistry I think people will be talking about for a long time. This is very cool. This is unbelievably beautiful. It gets really weird and loud and kind of full. The panels in here are just really kind of crazy, and I am just kind of so obsessed with this world. I cannot wait to see what happens next. Each time I open up one of these books, my mind is blown. This is just really kind of creepy and impressive. I love it so much.
Creepy and impressive, the highest honor Pete can bestow on anyone or anything.
Idea that there's all these other things going on in his head, and you're like, what is real? This is really cool.
It's very good. I mean, it's summer's hitting. It's camping season, and I am in the Deniz camp. I'm going to the Deniz campground, and I'm going to set up Deniz camp and enjoy everything that he is coming out with right now. This book, even I'll go one step further beyond what Pete's saying. The art is fantastic, but the premise that that positions the Javier Rodríguez to make this amazing art is so good. And the way that we have, as sort of revealed in this issue, the villain, we might have been able to predict that this villain, but I think the presentation of the villain and how it's being shown and set up as a counterpoint to Johns as the person here is exciting, and it only elevates the writing and art here that we're seeing in this issue to the next issue.
I agree with you. I'm bringing my camper to this camp, and I'm all about it.
And I just want to say, Justin, that was pretty messed up what you said earlier, because Pete's sandwich artist actually passed away recently. So just be sensitive, all right?
And honestly, I would have a moment of silence, but can we just have a moment of Meatball?
They did. This is the crazy thing, is they made him into meatballs. That was in his will.
Yeah.
They were like,
Pete,
grind me up.
Pete.
Yeah, give me some great
bequests
ideas
to Pete. At the reading of the will, I want my left arm made into meatballs for my number one fan, Pete. My left arm meatballs. Great sub. Use them sparingly, Pete. Don't just go and eat them all at once. I know that's what you want to do.
Yeah. Well, that would be a goddamn tragedy. And so is this book, number 1 from Oni Press, written by Chris Condon, art by Shawn Kuruneru. This is a classic Western-style story in the mode of That Texas Blood, which is where we first encountered Chris Condon.
Yum.
So very excited to see him back here. But this is an oversized one-shot telling a story about a tragic family trip over the mountains back in the day that goes horribly wrong. This goes into real horror territory, which I was not expecting, but I thought it was excellently done. And if you're a fan of That Texas Blood or the Enfield Gang Massacre or really anything else Chris Condon has done, this was great.
Yeah,
it continues on. Like, I feel like Chris Condon has positioned himself as like the poet laureate of the West for comics, and is able to find these stories that are about frontier, like people moving west, making mistakes, and sort of how everyone was just sort of out there making choices, and a lot of them ended badly. This is another one. He finds different artists, or he's paired with different artists, and finds new ways to make these books look and feel very different each time. I thought this was fantastic. Definitely a pickup.
Yeah, I really love the flow of this art. The kind of panels and the kind of vibe of it is really impressive, very cool. Really pulls you into this epic kind of story. I was super impressed with this. This is a hell of a read.
Yeah, and you, Pete, you moonlight as a ghost trapper who wanders through the woods telling people to kill other people, right?
You're goddamn right I do.
Goddamn.
Oh, yeah.
Goddamn
Be
right.
careful if you're in southeastern Pennsylvania. You may encounter a strange man in the wild being like, yeah, go kill that sandwich artist. R.I.P. Let's have a moment of Meatball for Dave.
Yeah.
All right, Pete. That's what I always say.
R.I.P.
Ultimate Spider-Man number 17 from Marvel, written by Jonathan Hickman, art by David Messina. In this issue, after the revelation that, and by the way, I forgot to mention this earlier, but spoiler warning for everything we're talking about here in the podcast. Also forgot to mention earlier, but patreon.com/comic book club if you want ad-free versions of this podcast and the rest of the podcast we do while I'm plugging and mentioning business stuff.
Yeah, go into your voiceover voice. You know what I mean?
I love it.
Patreon.com.
Make sure you subscribe and like.
And now, next up, he's a spider and a man, but he feels much deeper than anything you ever known. He's requested a little song to go out to his love of his life, Harry Osborn. This is a single by Lit. Take it away.
You know it's going to be Shimmer. No, sorry, that's Fuel. That's Fuel is Shimmer.
I literally could not think of a Lit song. Anyway, in this issue, Harry Osborn is alive, and we are finding out what that means as he works in the background with Gwen Stacy, who is a Mysterio. Not the Mysterio. She is the Mysterio. But there's also
one of
multiple Mysterios, including some big surprises. Who else is part of this Mysterio cult or cabal or whatever you want to call it? They're making some big moves against the Kingpin and setting up even bigger things. What you guys think about this issue?
I mean, they killed Harry Osborn so hard that to have him come back, I was like, ooh, it stings a little bit. But I mean, shouts to the team on this because they are able to cram so many ideas into this, and it still feels like a fun, character-driven story. I like all the characters. Peter Parker isn't even in this, really, except for at the very end. And
Harry?
It's still, Harry's in it a lot.
No, but I mean, that was my impression of him on the phone with Harry, where he was like,
That's really good.
no, thank you.
Another flawless bit of voice work from Pete LePage. I do like we get sort of the more of a payoff on the Green Goblin AI in the suit stuff here, which I think we had talked about coming, which I think is really cool. Again, the idea of the Ultimate Universe is stressful. I'm like, guys, it's May. You're still fucking around. Everyone's screwing around with all the different things in their lives. I'm like, 5 Mysterios. We don't have time for this doom. You got the makers coming, guys. There's too many Mysterios.
You're worried about the time. You're like, there's no time for all these Mysterios.
They said we get 1 issue a month. We don't have time for 5 Mysterios. We have time for 3, 2 maybe Mysterios.
Well, but they talk about that in this issue. Like, they're like, we are running
They're
out
like,
of time
Justin,
for this.
calm down. It's going to be all right.
They're not.
They know.
The
They're
opposite.
listening
They're like,
to me.
We don't have any time. We're running out of time. Everything's about to go horribly wrong.
You'll see in the panel, the person that says that is holding a phone. I'm on the phone saying, guys, you have to hurry up with this Mysterio shit. Let's get
wow.
going.
You're
it's
on
a
the
cameo.
other... Wow.
I'm on the phone. I have a lot of cameos.
I do want to
I have a lot of
ask you
cameos.
something, jumping off of something that you said, though, Justin, because this also came up when, like, I think when we put up a preview, somebody on Blue Sky was like, another issue with no Peter Parker. Well, I guess I'll read it anyway. What do you think about the fact that, like, Spider-Man is probably the least part of Ultimate Spider-Man?
Well, that's the thing about being the Ultimate Spider-Man is ultimately...
There isn't one.
Ultimate is last, right?
Yeah.
I personally don't mind it because I'm engaged with a lot of these characters, and Hickman does a great job of really balancing the plot being nice little breadcrumbs leading us forward while at the same time the characters are popping off. Like the Gwen Stacy stuff in here is really excellent. But I'm also like, oh, we have a multiple Mysterio fight with Mr. Negative, who owns part of the city's gang crime. I was like, okay, guys. Yeah, again, hurry up. It's May. It's May.
Oh, man. Just awesome art. The story's getting a little too crazy for me, but, I mean, that's what you want out of the Ultimate Universe, so why not? You know what I mean? More Mysterios. That's what we need, Justin, not less.
No, don't say that out loud. That's too...
Yes. That's the problem.
We've added a 6th Mysterio.
Yeah.
And maybe it's May Stereo.
Oh,
that's fun.
It's gonna be back.
Well, anyway, that's a good note to end on. Absolute Wonder Woman #8 from DC Comics, written by Kelly Thompson, art by Hayden Sherman. After the last arc sent her to Hades, Wonder Woman is back on Earth and setting up a temple/base, as well as connecting with other members of her new and growing team. Pete, you're pumping your fists.
Dude, this is a fantastic issue. Another banger. This Absolute Wonder Woman run is legendary. Cool cover. Also, we get a lovely recap page. Thank you for that. Just another banger issue. Art was unbelievable. Love the story. Wonder Woman meets Dr. Poison here. I'm having such a blast with this. I love this version of Wonder Woman. I like the time that we're getting with her. There's like quiet times with Wonder Woman, which is nice, you know. It's just some nice beats in here. I'm feeling
like a little ASMR. Wonder Woman
she's
stuff.
just like hanging out with the birds, you know, before she sends all of her pigeons. You know what I mean? So I'm eating this up with a fork and knife. This is glorious, and I never want Absolute Wonder Woman to end.
I will say they've been able to create with Absolute Wonder Woman in this comic her as the ultimate, the pure superhero right now in the stands. I feel like she's 100% good, and that's hard to do. Like there's no purposeful nuance or darkness to her. It's just like in this issue, especially she hears the noise from the giant kaiju monster from the previous arc. She's like, I just said that was, you can't do that. That's fucked up. It's bad. You're going to kill people. And she just goes and does it. I thought that was great. I love what's the new sort of layouts in this. I feel like this comic, the art has been beautiful, but in this issue in particular, there's this experimentation with triangle and circle in a way that I don't know it feels like a larger idea in this new arc, and maybe it's just sort of refreshing our eye on it, but I really enjoy it. It seems to rhyme with the architecture of the building that appears in this comic, and I was like, wow, this is some very deeply thought about comic book work here. One of the best comics on the stands.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And do you think if their last name was Poison, would they get accepted to doctor school? Because I feel like they might run into some trouble there.
You can't just, not accept somebody because they have a name. You know what I mean? That's just
no, I know, but it would give you pause, right? Wait, Justin, didn't you have a weird doctor name?
I did. My dermatologist after college was named Dr. Terrible. It's not a joke.
Then I guess Dr. Poison is fine.
Not a joke. And the receptionist would sort of be like, it's actually Terrible. I was like, no, get out of here with that. When I've heard he says terrible, and I'm like, that's just his name. And he was the most mild-mannered, chill guy. He was like, so you do comedy? I'm like, Dr. Terrible, you're a future punchline in my life. Of course I do comedy.
I'm going to talk about you on a podcast.
Yeah. Shouts to Dr. Terrible's dermatology practice in Fayetteville, New York. Everybody check him out. He's popping off. Wow. He's popping those pimples.
Dark Honor, #1 from Image Comics, created and written by K.S. Bruce and Brian DeCubellis, adapted by Ethan Sachs, art by Fico Ossio. This is a new crime book about a crime boss that gets out of jail and comes back to town and shakes things up, and she's got some dark honor about her.
Yeah, this comic is very... Yes, that's true of this comic as well. This comic is very intensely pushing COVID era.
Yes.
In a way where the villain steps out and he's like, gentlemen, I'm Grigor, but you might think of me as Grigor 19. I was like, okay, no one said that.
Well, I don't know if you read the back matter, but this is a, not surprisingly, movie script that they were working on during COVID.
Oh.
And then they decided to do it and translate it into a comic book, which is where Ethan Sachs comes in and Fico Ossio. So, yes, I agree. It also has a weird sort of bent, like, COVID. Come on, get over it. Let's just walk around. Where is everybody?
But it
irks me a little bit.
Well, but even that aside, there's so much like a lot of people are concerned about being infected, but also the main character's like, I understand. Take one of the masks that they gave me when I got out of prison for us to use, and then no, she's not wearing one, and I'm like, what's but some of the henchmen are wearing masks. I'm like, what are we saying? What are we doing here?
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're going to set it in COVID times, that's fine. That is a big thing that happened to the whole of world society.
Yeah,
have a take on it. And
it feels
seems to be like the city is empty, so it's prime for crime.
Yes, and that's a cool idea. That's an interesting idea, and we haven't quite gotten to that as perhaps the notion yet. Instead, it just seems a little scattershot, and it's like I think we've established that COVID's happening. I'm like, yup, you definitely did that.
Mm-hmm. Well, also, I mean, we got this kind of badass main character here, and I did appreciate all the kind of action and all the kind of fighting and stuff we got in here. I thought that was
the art has some cool just straight up jump kicks and stuff.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for a good jump kick.
The art reminded me of 90s Valiant, if you remember.
Oh yeah,
I was thinking Top Cow, but I hear you on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Predator vs. Spider-Man, #2 from Marvel, written by Benjamin Percy, art by Marcelo Ferreira. Talk about New York City under siege in a different way. Here, there is a rogue predator who is attacking the city during one of the hottest hot streaks of the year. He is the Skinner, who likes to skin people and then play with their skin and make their skin talk sometimes. Spider-Man is on his trail. Also, Kraven the Hunter is. And Mary Jane is trapped in the subway being stalked by the Skinner as well. Lots of other things going on there. What do you guys think about this? You're making some interesting faces.
Yeah, Pete, I'm very curious. You seem shy suddenly. I will say this comic...
like the first one because he didn't like Mary Jane in danger, right?
That's right.
He likes Mary Jane's skin where it is.
That's right, I do.
Well, she's keeping that skin on so far.
I do like what they're setting up a little bit here. I think, the Kraven the Hunter is a great kind of versus for Predator, you know what I mean? So I hope we get to see that. I also think it would be fun if Spider-Man teamed up with Kraven to kind of take down the Predator. That would be fun. So I will.
Do you think they're going to do it? They're going to do like the hand clasp thing from the first Predator?
Oh, that's smart. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I do have one question. You bring up Kraven in this. Kraven, when he was introduced in the comics, was like, oh, I hunt big game. I've already killed everything. I'm going to try to hunt a superhero, Spider-Man. In this comic, he's like, I love skinning regular humans. And he talks about how he's literally skinning a human. I'm like, what happened?
No, he wasn't skinning the human. The Predator skinned the human. He was respecting the work.
Yeah, but he skinned humans in the past. He talks about it like he's skinning humans on the reg.
And I'm like, he knows how to do it, but he's not currently doing it. I just want to.
Well, okay. Well, he's chit-chatting about it
in a creepy way. Is Justin's point where he's like.
Okay, wait. So what line are you saying? You're like, he's cool.
All I'm saying is
he's cool. He hasn't skinned anyone lately.
On pizza, I'm not eating pizza right now.
Okay, great.
Okay.
I look forward to seeing
people alive and pizza. That's what you're comparing.
Yeah,
I look forward to seeing your
because I have some news.
He does. He gets a pizza and he skins the cheese right off it. It's disgusting. He wears it like a little mask or a little coat. It's gross. The way,
thank you.
Is Kraven wearing human skin in his little vests? This guy loves vests.
He does. He loves a good vest.
Here's the thing that's not working for me on this book. I generally like this book. I like the Mary Jane Lost in the Subway stuff. That's very tense. All the stuff with Kraven is great. I love, like I said with the first issue, the idea of sort of playing on the Summer of Sam with Hottest Day of the City, but it's a Predator stalking everything. Great. The thing that's not working for me is Spider-Man, which he is such a weird goof in this book.
I agree, he's being extra goofy in this.
Yes. And there's a whole scene where there's like, he comes in his Spider-Man costume in the apartment. He's like, Mary Jane, where are you? And then he hears somebody at the door. He's like, guess you forgot the keys. And opens the door and it's a police detective. And he's like, oh no. Which, why would he ever do that? I don't know why that would ever happen where he'd be like, oh, the only person who could possibly be at the door right now is Mary Jane. Let me open it in my Spider-Man costume. And then he leaves in his Spider-Man costume.
When you're in love, that's who you want on the other side of the door. It's really beautiful. I will say this book also, it talks about how much it sucks to be in New York when it's really hot. A lot. Like, as much as, like, they're like, you know what, what's the hierarchy of villains in this comic? And I'm like, hot New York is number one.
Yeah.
Then Skinner. Yeah. And then Kraven also somewhat skinning. Let me just say that. He's a recent Skinner.
I hear you on this, but they're not wrong. Because when it gets hot in the city, there are times when I'm on the subway, I'm like, take off my skin, please.
Oh, yeah. I'm like, Kraven, skin me.
That's what I'm craving.
Yeah, I'm craving a skinning. Principal Skinner, come up here and take this extra coat off me. I just want my bones out there.
Anyway, more of this to come. Batman 160 from DC Comics, written by Jeff Loeb, art by Jim Lee. Continuing Hatoosh. And boy, what is going on in this? What isn't going on in this comic book?
Yeah, exactly.
As Batman is really taken to task for not killing the Joker, kind of by the Red Hood and kind of by Hush, and there's a new character called Silence who looks like, I believe, Maui from Moana is the most present reference that I would put there.
Yes.
And there's a couple of other characters standing around talking about things as well.
I would say every character is in this. If you have an idea for a Batman character, they're here. Everyone's hanging out. And to the point where it's like, they're like, Commissioner Gordon, I love seeing you. And I was like, okay, what? We don't need to do
the
this.
Riddler shows up and he's like, I've got a new costume and a question tattoo on my eye.
Yes, and let me just also, we get a new character introduced here that wasn't just Silence. So Batman's like, his dad made scalpels out of a cool metal. Called
cool
Damascus
scalpel,
steel.
Bro.
Very cool scalpel. He goes in costume to a Wayne Enterprises building, and he goes and meets a woman who, and her little nameplate on her desk says, A. Damascus. And then she's like, I'll kill you. My name, Armor Damascus. I'm like, what? What? Why?
Do you know what this book reads like? It reads like if you described Batman comics to somebody who had never read comics before, and they're like, I get it, I could write one now.
Well, it definitely feels like it was either done very like, hurry up, we have to have this done in an hour. It's like, okay, well, we could take another minute. It's like, no, let's just do it real quick. We can get it out of the way.
Well,
we can go.
I think there's. I love how packed it is. You know what I mean? Like, they're not wasting a panel. There's a ton of ideas going on here. It's all going south for Batman fast. So this, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck here to defend Hattush 2 a little bit here. I love the art on this. The twists and turns are very intense. You're thinking to yourself, how the hell is Batman going to be able to get out of this?
What? Get out of what? Exactly.
Well, first off, he's bleeding from his ears and nose on this cover, so you'd like to.
I think he got out of the cover. There's more pages after that. What else is he trying to get out of specifically?
Well, the Joker is missing, and he's trying to figure out which one of his Robins is currently fucking him, and so it's just a question of.
That's not how you say that.
It's definitely not how you say that, but I don't appreciate you trying to gang up on me and my love of Hattush 2.
It's a great
that's
quote.
A game that they play on, like, in the back game on Saturday nights, right?
Not to try to take what Pete said a little seriously, but everyone's talking about, like, you can't be careful, Hush's plan.
Yeah,
Hush has a plan, and I'm like, at the end of this comic, he has a Damascus steel made out of this woman, I guess, scalpel up against Damian's neck. He's like, 3 Robins are dying tonight. And that's because Hush somehow knows that across town, Nightwing broke in on his own mission to where Jason is holding the Joker because he's about to kill the Joker. They fought, and the Joker somehow turned the tables and has a gun pointed at each of them and is going to shoot them. I'm like, that was part of Hush's plan. He knew that this was going to happen.
I don't even know what Hush's goal is. Like, what is he trying to do? Because
torture Batman, it seems like.
I guess. Why? For what? What is the connection? Like, they keep talking about Hush's plan throughout these issues.
Alex, haven't you been paying attention? When you grow up and you have a best friend with someone when they're little and then they get successful, then a nemesis forms and they will try to take them down every time. So it's a tale as old as time.
Do you know what? Hush should be called Dr. Terrible, honestly.
Oh, come on.
Much
Don't
better.
take shots at Justin's dermatologist.
That guy got me through some hard times.
Yeah.
And honestly, the
dermatologically
dermatologist should be
speaking.
called Hush, I think.
He did.
I
will say, Dr. Terrible did have a fully bandaged face every time I went there.
Oh, that's a red flag, man.
You think that's a red flag?
For a dermatologist? I think so, bro. For a dermatologist?
I think he was in a series of, like, arson-related facial burning.
I think he's
the point of the
experimenting.
podcast where I could say I don't get Hush. Like, I don't get the idea of Hush at all. Like, he looks like a mummy, and he's got 2 guns, and he used to be a doctor who was friends with Bruce Wayne.
But Jim
None
Lee.
of those thoughts connect.
But Jim Lee, though.
Well,
I do love Jim Lee. And Jeff Loeb, again, I want to emphasize, always been very nice to us.
Yes, and honestly,
great.
the first Hush had more of a sense to it, and it just moved a little more slowly. I think this feels like they have all of they have 100 small ideas, but there isn't a coalesced main idea right now that I can identify. And some of the ideas are
right
cool.
Now, dude, wait till the next issue and everything snaps into place. You guys are gonna feel real dumb.
Can we just have a moment of silence to what Pete just said? I want to really let it wash over me. Really good.
Well, I'll put that one in my mommy vlog. Which comics written by Marguerite Bennett, art by Eleonora Carlini. This is a one-shot from the Ninth Circle imprint. Does a bunch of horror one-shots. Here we are getting, per the title, a mommy blogger who is dealing with, quote-unquote, some serial killers and other things going around in her neighborhood. I thought this was very fun, very packed, very twisted storytelling. There's a lot going on here in between these pages. Justin, you're nodding your head about that.
I also like this. This book goes dark, hard, hard, dark throughout, but has like some great horror. It reminds me of some of the other horror books we're reading. What's the Fashion Institute one that we talked about?
Oh yeah,
that was a fashion school serial killer.
Yeah,
similar in a good way. I like that type of serial killer book where we are inside the brain of the killer the whole time. There's just fun attention to like internet, being obsessed with internet culture in this. The story spins out in a way where I was like, I would have never predicted this, but it's a ride. It's a good ride. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, art's twisted and bright in ways that's impressive. I thought this got a little too dark for me, but I'm not much of a fan of horror. But man, yes, crazy, scary. The looks that she has in her eyes and her face and her smile, really creepy in all the right ways. So this is an impressive horror book.
And I'll mention that Marguerite Bennett is going to be on our live show next Tuesday, as well as I neglected to mention earlier, Chris Condon. So that should be a fun one.
While you're going back, shouts to Russ Burlingame, who did the interview in the back matter of the Chris Condon book, who is on our Discord if you want to come hang out and talk with him too.
Yes, yes.
In the back of the goddamn
Thank you for mentioning that. That was a great interview in the back there.
Yes.
Venom, Original Sin, #1 from Marvel, written by Steve Orlando, art by Scott Koblish and Matt Horak. This is a wild one-shot, and I have no idea where this came from or why, but it is about Eddie Brock traveling back in time to take over Spider-Man's body to stop the thing that sent Eddie Brock down a dark path that ultimately led to him becoming Venom. There's a lot more twists, turns in there. What do you guys think about this? Because this really took me by surprise.
Well, you get 50 pages, so you get the real bang for your buck here. And, we got Jack-O-Lantern, which normally doesn't get this much shine. So that was kind of cool, the Venom versus Jack-O-Lantern action we got in that. I liked a lot of the action. I don't know, things got a little weird, but awesome art. I thought this was kind of cool. I mean, Orlando does great work, so I was excited to kind of see the team on this and to kind of read this what if Venom time traveled kind of story.
Shouts to a Wonder Man sighting in this comic.
Oh, yeah, you love Wonder Man.
No one saw that coming, and by that I mean me. I enjoyed this, though. It does feel like something surprising, but once you were in it, I was like, oh, I mean, there's so much Venom content. There's so much Venom writing happening in the Marvel Universe right now. Like, this, I think, actually helps flesh out a lot of stuff that is currently going on with Eddie Brock and has been for the last, few years. So, I think this is a necessary reading if you're a fan of any of the Venom stuff that's happening now.
Oh, wow.
Interesting. I had the opposite reaction, which I expected this to be setting up a series or setting up a mini-series or tying in some way, but it very much feels like its own oversized standalone issue, while, yes, addressing a lot of the stuff that's happened over the past couple of years, but not to get too wonky about it, but I think I always expect, okay, well, how does this fit into the overall publishing plan? And the answer, I think, is this doesn't. This doesn't set up anything. It doesn't pivot off of anything. It's just a weird Venom story that Steve Orlando is telling. And in that, I think it's a lot of fun. And I'd like to see more of that. Things that are not, here's 5 one-shots we're doing that are all tied into the same story or whatever.
It feels frivolous in a good way. It feels like, they must have just liked this story and let's see it. And I like the art. The cover is I want a moment of noise about this cover because it's really good.
Moment of noise. I love it.
Justice League Unlimited #7 from DC Comics, written by Mark Waid, art by Travis Moore. We are getting towards the end of the We Are Yesterday crossover, where the Legion of Doom is attacking the Justice League throughout time, thanks to a powered up, a juiced up Gorilla Grodd. This issue, that continues to happen.
Yeah. And Yeah, also a fun cover here. I love this. This really feels like a Justice League book to me. Grodd is always such a great...
Yeah, great news. It's like an unlimited one of those.
Grodd is such a great villain, and I feel like is used really well here. I feel like this is a great kind of setup and continuation of the story. I'm really getting into the story, and I feel like they're doing a good job of getting me hyped for what's coming next.
Not to put you on the spot again, real quick, what is the story in this crossover?
Yeah, good luck with that.
He's talking to you,
down
Pete.
Grodd. Take down Grodd is the...
Take down Grodd. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, and I will say it's even harder to know what's happening when on the last page, where they're like, I know that you are reading Justice League Unlimited, but here's a bunch of characters that aren't currently included in that now you're having to contend with. And I will say, I was very excited to read that page. But if you're not a long-term comic book fan, this might be like, wait, Aquaman has a hook hand right now? Why he do that? Who's this Batman from Beyond?
Can we talk about the really crazy dark moment in the middle of this book where they attack, I think it was Sue Dibney and not Plastic Man, Elongated Man. And they're like, okay, we're going to take care of him. And the rest of the Legion Doom exits the room, and around the corner you just see some of his limbs, and the sound effects are snap, snap, and him screaming, which is very upsetting.
Well, I mean, Mark Waid can do so much with this book. Like, I feel like he really has the brain space to keep all of these characters moving forward. That's so hard. And despite the fact that being a disturbing torture scene, it still is that he's like, well, let's have them being bad. Because I will say they do look pretty goofy just hanging out together, so they need to do some bad stuff to feel scary.
But we don't know. I mean, they could have just been snapping into Slim Jims just to torture him. You know what I mean? So
because
you don't know.
Like he's salivating because he wants to snap into those.
Yeah, when you got a hankering for some old jerky, you'll do anything
jerky.
for it. Yeah, exactly. I know how to torture Pete. Real quick though, what do you think? What do you think of the workshop? Elongated Man, famously known for being smart. What do you think his workshop list was for superhero names? And he landed on Elongated. Do you think he had maybe a couple other options?
He probably started with Plastic Man, but that was already taken.
Yeah.
And then he went to Mr. Fantastic. And
Stretcho, you couldn't get that.
Miss Marvel.
Elongated is just too much all the way.
Yeah.
So
it's limited.
Your real problem with this comic is the naming of Elongated Man.
Well, he ostensibly named himself, in the world of the comics. So
my problem with this is I still don't know what's going on with this crossover. I think this issue is a little bit of a step up just because it focused in on Justice League versus Legion of Doom, which, like you said, Pete, the concept is stop Grodd. Yeah. I don't know what Grodd's doing or why. I know this is going to lead into the next big event, so cool. But
I don't mind. That doesn't bother me. If they're just trying to get them all and it's working, and they're trying to get in the base, they need to know about this dark side energy and all that because they want to get in there.
Grodd kind of looks like an Omega level dark side by the end there. That was crazy.
The Bizarro moment of him having his arm rain down on him, and then later he's like, "What's in here?" I thought was really well done. Great set of punchline little bit there.
Yeah, fun Bizarro bit.
Yeah.
All right, well, why don't we move on and talk about The Pale Knight, #1 from Bad Cave Studios, written by Peter Milligan, art by Val Rodriguez. This is seems like a very straightforward knight on a quest story from back in medieval times, but it takes a pretty supernatural turn about 2/3 of the way through, which I was, despite the cover literally showing it, I was surprised when it happened just because we had so much groundwork before that. But I still liked it, and I think it was interesting, good art. So
yeah. Enjoyed the art. I like the story. It feels like a classic. I called you out, Alex, for referencing Prince Valiant or Classics Illustrated. But this feels like that in a good way. And talking about all these different knights and struggling to be like, how can I get out of this plague thing? But they're struggling for that. And then there is the twist that happens late. But it was a good twist, I thought. Good time for it.
Also, as you guys know, as parents, you guys would make any kind of deal with death, to save one of your children. You know what I mean?
I've made many.
Even if it meant killing somebody else, So I feel like this is an interesting premise, kind of cool. And I'm excited to see how it kind of all unfolds, because his son does not look like he's going to last very long. And I'm worried about the poor kid,
Based on his plague. That's your professional plague diagnosis.
Yeah, I mean, just seeing him laying there all pussy and stuff, it did not look good for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Really good. Hey, by the way, Pete, I have a couple moles I want to show you on my back, if that's cool.
Yeah, and they're, to be clear, they're the moles, the animals. They're not like skin moles.
I can't get them off. They just they're riding on me.
They love backs.
Yoda.
Moles love backs. Everybody knows that. Yeah.
They're riding on me like Yoda in Empire. It sucks because they can't give me any advice.
No advice? If you're going to ride, you got to give advice.
I'm like, why don't you give me bad, evil advice? And why don't you give me angelly, good advice? But they don't want to help me.
Gnaw on your flesh.
Yeah.
The Infinity Watch #5 from Marvel, written by Derek Landy, art by Ruairi Coleman. This is the final issue of this title about a bunch of humans and superheroes and others who all have the powers of Infinity Stones. They've been fighting against a guy from another dimension who wants to destroy the Marvel dimension and take it over and make it his own. I thought I could never have predicted for the first issue how endlessly creative and fun this book is. And in this last issue, the way that they play with the comic book form was delightful.
Yeah, I mean,
meant to... Oh, you go.
That guy beating someone with the word balloon was just awesome. That was just so fun and cool. I had a blast. Go ahead, Justin.
I meant to call this out as a recommendation in the live show because I thought this was great. It was a comic that didn't have to hit this hard. Like, I feel like this is a comic I want to just hand to people, even if you haven't read the first 4, and just like, check this out. This is dope. Like, it's really cool. The experimentation felt so much more fresh than anything going on in a Deadpool comic that is doing the same thing over and over again. Shots fired. Infinity Stones fired.
Jesus, no.
But and also the way they defeated the villain, I thought was also so smartly done. Like this group of misfits coming together in a way that really worked. I thought
this ragtag team. The way
came different ideas. They really are the bad news bears of godlike figures with magic stones. I do think we may never see this group of people again together, but it's still cool.
There's a note that Derek Landy has in the back being like, uh-oh, something else is coming, something big maybe. Will we see these guys again? I don't know. But it actually got me excited in a way that the same sort of way that the old Infinity titles would the Infinity would like Pip the Troll and the gang and Adam Warlock would show up and be like, oh, they're here. Oh, cool. And by the end of this miniseries, I felt that way. Like whatever event we have, if they show up and they're like, oh, shit's going down, that's awesome. I'm very into it now. So
and I wonder, what is the crossover? Is it Imperial? Coming?
There's Imperial, but they're probably going to do something after that. Like, I don't know. There's that big thing they've been teasing for a while with Thanos, with the Infinity Stones on Mjolnir and the Marvel zombies invading and everything.
Yeah. Oh, they've been teasing that for literally years.
And I think that got put on a shelf because Donny Cates had a rough time health-wise, so I wonder if they're holding it for him. But
that's interesting.
There's that, but there's also, I'm sure, some sort of Ultimate Universe versus regular Marvel Universe thing in the offing. So
an incursion.
There you go. All right, why don't we move on and talk about We're Taking Everyone Down With Us, #3 from Image Comics, written by Matthew Rosenberg, art by Stefano Landini. In this book, the daughter of a Bond-esque villain has had to watch her father die. Unbeknownst to her, her father took his brain patterns and copied it into a robot who's hanging out with her now, and she's been captured by one of the other villains in the cabal that her father was part of. Great. Everything about this is great.
Alex, this has got to be your plan for when you die, is kind of upload your brain to a robot so it can live on forever.
Here's the thing, is that doesn't count because that's not you. That's a robot with a copy.
Version of you, though, because you no longer exist.
Dead. That's what I'm saying, is you're dead.
but that's a way for you to live on.
No.
Wait, do you have another plan? You sound like someone who has another plan.
Yeah.
Well, I thought about it. I don't know how to
You're
do
like,
it. But
no, this plan is horrible. My other plan.
At least in my opinion, sorry, religious people, but you exist in your brain is where I think it is. So if there's a way I could take my brain and keep it alive in a robot body and keep it going, then I'm good to go.
But you don't feel like you could upload your thoughts and beliefs into a robot?
No, because that's somebody else or something else.
Then the people
it's
around
still
him,
your thoughts and beliefs.
Here's the thing. Here's why Alex is mad.
I'm
because if he does that, we still get to enjoy our guy Alex. But he doesn't get to enjoy being on here with us. Yeah, exactly. So he doesn't want anybody else having a little taste of Alex, little nips of Alex.
Well, if we could talk more about this comic.
I have to mention this just because Justin brought it up. I like to say this as frequently as possible. If there are any vampires listening, if you want to come bite me, make me immortal, I'm all up for that. I just need a guarantee it isn't like the Buffy style thing where you're replaced by a demon, so you've actually died. If we can guarantee that it is still me, let's go.
Wow! So inviting vampires to your home, that's a bold move.
He wants to live forever.
You're all welcome.
He wants to suck your blood, Pete.
Wow. All right. Well,
and let me say, if there's any leftovers of Dave the Sandwich Artist, I would like a couple meatballs of maybe the right arm.
All right.
While we're talking about eating humans, I want to get a nib in.
If we a nib, this is a badass issue, though. I mean, I love the part where the girl beats the dude with a robot arm. I mean, that's just fun. I mean, I love comics, and that was just amazing art and action, and I was having such a blast with this issue, and this was great. I love this comic.
This is really fun, and balancing the tones of like an action-adventure genre comic with some good comedy in here. Very fun.
Bergie.
Yeah. Great stuff. Mr. Terrific, Year 1, number 1 from DC Comics, written by Al Letson, art by Valentin Delandro and Edwin Galman. We are getting a new, definitive origin story for Mr. Terrific. But that was great, and the art is great. I love Valentin Delandro's art. It has the sense of like, God, I don't even know. There's something that's on the tip of my tongue. I'll think about it later. But the thing that I thought was so smartly done about this book is it is framed in the current continuity with a prelude at the beginning with Mr. Terrific thinking about, like, here's where I am now. Here's how my past affected me, and then telling the story. I think with this sort of thing, you usually get, like, just all back in the day, but making, like we've talked about with Challengers the Unknown and the Atom Project, really framing it around the DC all-in story, I think is just a smart way to go with a title like this.
I agree, and I was also pleasantly surprised by this. Like, Mr. Terrific is a character that I feel like he's around a lot, but you're also like, I haven't been like, how did he come up with just that weird T mask on his face and the spheres, and like, what is his whole deal? Also, Mr. Terrific is a legacy hero, technically. There's a golden age Mr. Terrific that is Fair Play guy, who had Fair Play on the back
Fair Play,
of his jacket.
I think it was on his arms.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. It was on the arms. That's what it was. Yeah. So, like, there's a lot to explore here, and I was so excited to read this. Like, it's well done, and I'm very much looking forward to exploring all of this.
Yeah, I agree. I really love the tone that this art set. I think it was very cool for this kind of year one start. And there was kind of a grittiness to it that I thought was really cool. Also a sad ending, but great. I feel like this is a solid first issue that gets you excited for more, and I feel like he's a great character to kind of explore, so I feel like this is a good setup.
The Avengers, number 26 from Marvel, written by Jed McKay, art by Andrea Baccardo. In this issue, the Masters of Evil have laid siege to the Impossible City, and only Captain America and the remainder of the Impossible City are there to stop them. So it's a little bit of a Die Hard meets the classic Under Siege crossover or Under Siege storyline from back in the day. I think we were pretty positive about the first part. How do we feel about part 2?
I think they literally call out, it's like Die Hard in the Impossible City is literally said in this.
Yes, that's what it is.
Yeah. I think this was cool. I like the way that it sort of had a propulsive energy to it. It's a little bit like this is the same type of thing that's happening in the Justice League Unlimited story we just talked about, where I'm like, oh, I guess the bad guys are taking over the headquarters, and it's up to a couple people to try to fight back. And that's what we're getting here. But I do think it's well done. I like like I said, the action is working here.
Yeah, agreed. This is great action, great art, solid story. It's nice to see Captain America kicking some butt here. And more of this, please. Thank you.
I'm enjoying this all right. I think I'm probably on the same page as you, Justin, where it's like, yeah, this is good, and I'm having a fun time. But I got to say, killer last page. I really like the last page of this issue. I won't spoil it for you. It's not a huge surprise, but I just think the page flip there worked very nicely for the reveal that they had at the end. Very fun. Star Trek Lore War, Shax's Worst Day from IDW, written by Ryan North, art by Derek Charm, as well as continuing the Lore War storyline, where Lore has taken over the entire universe and remade it in his image. This is also a pseudo-sequel to the previous Eisner-nominated Shax's Best Day, which tied into the Day of Blood storyline. I remember, at the very least, Pete and I really enjoyed that one, so I was eagerly looking forward to this as well. And I thought it is great, as Shax gets his memory back after being brainwashed by Lore and is given the mission to destroy Starfleet all on his own. And it pays off in absolutely ludicrous fashion. This is a blast.
Shouts to Ryan North back in his old Adventure Time style form of telling a big, fun story and having little jokes at the bottom of the page. Love it. Great to see it here.
Yeah.
I thought it was a fun story. Comedic, but also it feels like it's part of what's happening in the larger Lore War, too. Like, it's not just a joke issue. So, that's awesome.
Yeah, love the art, love the kind of pace and style of this. A lot of fun bang for your buck, comedy-wise, and, it's fun to see kind of Shax. I'm a big fan of the Shaq-a-roni, so it's nice to see the Shaq, getting out there and doing more stuff, you know what I mean?
You're pushing a nickname that makes me think you think he's listening to this.
You don't think Shaquille O'Neal listens to us in our podcast?
Oh, okay.
Oh, this is a different person.
Yes, this is a different character. Two other quick things that I'll say about this book. One, very fun to see dark Lore War versions of the other Lower Decks characters in this book. That was pretty delightful, given Shax is from that show. And the other thing that I'll say that I thought was great about this book is Shax's whole thing is killing fascists. And so he's like, I get to kill fascists? That's great. And they just keep hitting that over and over again, why fascism is bad, and he keeps loving killing these fascists. This is so much more precise and of the moment than anything that Ryan North is doing in One World Under Doom.
Yes.
I think the
funny.
contrast is so stark here.
Yeah.
So if you're missing that, if you feel the politics of that as muddy as I do, read this book because it nails it.
Cool.
You'll Do Bad Things, number 3 from Image Comics, written by Tyler Boss, art by Adriano Tertolucci. This is about a writer who wrote a true crime novel back in the day and is having trouble writing a second novel, but starts to suspect that he may be causing a new spate of murders, potentially. This is the issue where I really felt like it all came together. Like we had talked about the last issue, there was a lot going on in a lot of directions, but this, I felt like, really focused it in, made it clear what the story is, had some disturbing stuff. I really like this one. I think this was the best of the 3.
Yeah, I agree with that. I am enjoying it. I think the art is really good in this. It's tragic, but also like a little bit funny, a little bit unsettling, a little bit like just a guy trying to figure it out, and then like, whoops, maybe he's doing very horrible things. This guy really knows how to barge in on people doing their job.
Oh, man.
Big
barger.
The second one I felt uncomfortable with. I was like, come on.
Yeah, agreed.
But that's the secret. That's why you don't tell your home address. And that's why it's really smart that we don't do that. And why Pete doesn't tell us his home address privately so that we can come visit him because he doesn't want us to come.
That's not true. You're always welcome, you and your family.
That's all. Look, would I have to hunt you down and skin you like Craven?
You know what, Justin? I'm calling.
Is that what you want?
Hey, Tyler Boss is the writer of this. Okay, Justin Tyler, why don't you tell me your pseudonym here? This is I love the writing on this, but
it's Justin's boss. Clearly,
yeah. I work.
So is that you, Alex? Is that you then?
He doesn't work for me.
I love this art style that makes the whole kind of world come to life here. The shading, the coloring choices. I just really think it's really impressive, the communication that happens artistically throughout this comic. So yeah, just very, very cool. Has a great kind of tone to it. Good stuff, but this is fucked up, but cool. I thought this was great.
The Uncanny X-Men, number 15 from Marvel, written by Gail Simone, art by David Marquez. In this issue, the Outliers are heading further into the Dark Artery, a weird other dimension below the New Orleans house, and the rest of the X-Men are catching up to it to the point that Wolverine takes off his shorts and puts on some new, even darker, more disturbing shorts.
Yeah, wow.
Well, I will say, you still get a lot of jorts content in this. It's to the point where everyone's like, should we put our clothes on? And Wolverine's like, nope. Just boots and our jorts. Let's go into this swamp hole. And I'm like, what is the deal here?
Yeah, the shorts of Wolverine and nothing but jorts popping his claws was a bit much. You know what I mean?
I feel like they're trying to. I feel like Gail Simone is like, I want to make Wolverine sexy again. Like, I feel like that's what she's doing here.
Short King.
Well, definitely, and shouts to our short king. But like the shot of Wolverine, like he's like, "Let's go do this." I'm like, "Is this like a pinup?"
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then later he's in some like pretty like cool emo gear.
Yeah.
Well,
were you fanning yourself, Justin? Where you're like, I do declare. Oh.
Yeah,
like,
when they get to the Dark Artery, they all get new cool black outfits, and Wolverine's outfit is straight up like Goblin Queen style thing, with like barely any clothes whatsoever.
Like, sorry for the listeners, but like, look, he's thrusting his hips forward.
Oh yeah, where his claws are, that's suggestive.
Yeah, he's
Gail Simone's making some thirst traps, is what you're saying.
This Wolverine fucks,
yeah, he does. Yes.
Also,
but I'm enjoying this. Alex seems like not. He's making a negative.
No.
Alex was just about to say like he was loving everything but the robot dog at the end. That's the only problem he had.
No, I'm all right with the robot dog. I think this issue gets to what we've been talking about with this series a lot. It focuses in. It gives us a story with these kids. It gives us time with the Outliers. It's not jumping around in a ton of different directions. The X-Men are very focused on like going to help them and fighting. So much more focused, and you get some weird horror stuff as well.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing, we've talked about this since the first issue. It's very Claremont-y. I'm forgetting exactly what it is, but like towards the end, one of the characters says body and soul, which is like a classic Claremontism in the book. So the influences are very much on the sleeves here.
I say Charles and soul now. I've updated it.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Is that the sum totality of your meatball powers, Pete?
Yes, exactly. Pete does have a psychic meatball that comes out of his little hand.
A meat wad, if you will.
I still contend that this comic has more in line with the types of stories that Excalibur told back in the day, because it is so like magic, deep history looks like menace sitting right outside your window. I'm not saying, yes, of course, that's not a negative, but I do think there are magic bones in this comic.
Mm-hmm.
The Last Boy, number 3, another book with magic bones. Boom Studios, written by Dan Panosian, art by Alessio Avallone. We are getting 2 timelines here. One where we're following Peter Pan as he gets real bummed out that nobody needs him anymore. He was facing a villain called the Phantom King in the last issue who hurt him, and he's dealing with that here. Meanwhile, in what seems like the real world, we're following Wendy Darling as she tries to write her novel, presumably Peter Pan, and though we don't know yet, is dealing with some kids and is dealing with her impending nuptials.
Ooh.
I got a feeling that wedding's not going to happen.
What? How dare you? First off, cool cover. We get a big kind of love reveal here. Tiger Lily just comes right out and says, I'm in love with you, Peter. Always have been. Oh, my gosh. Changes the whole thing for me. I'm going to go back, read Peter Pan again, because I want to see if I can pick up on that. You know what I mean?
I mean, everyone's after this Peter Pan guy. Tinkerbell famously chasing him. Yeah. Julia Roberts in the Hook film, which I recently watched.
Cool. Does it hold up?
Pretty cool, right? It's pretty good.
Man, you're living your best life.
What if you didn't like it originally? Does it hold up then?
It holds up to being something
shots
you don't.
Fired.
Are you anti-Hook?
Yeah,
I never liked it. It didn't.
Really?
There was something about like the design of Neverland and the Lost Boys. It was this very like 80s grody-ness that...
Oh, I'm sorry. That is basically when it came out. So
yeah, I don't know. I never liked that. I was like, when are we going to get to the slickness of the 2000s?
Well, I will say there's definitely a vibe of like, kids like skateboarding. So let's make the Lost Boys have skateboards with sails on them. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. That would never work. But there's just some great moments in that movie. A little guy named Robin Williams starring in it.
Come on.
But what I was going to say is, this is such a story built around, it's like, hey, man, Peter, you got to grow up a little bit. You're dealing with all this in the wrong way. And I'm like, is that what the point of this is? I'm curious. The two timelines feel very disconnected from the Wendy stuff and the Peter stuff. And I just want a little bit more of connective fiber there.
Well, I'm just saying this is, usually I'm pulling for Wendy and Peter, but now it's Tiger Lily and Peter. So this is a whole new ship for me, and I'm very excited about it.
Mm-hmm. Great. Peacemaker presents the Vigilante and Eagly double feature number 3 from DC Comics, written by Tim Seeley and Rex Ogle, art by Mitch Gerads and Matteo Loli. We're getting 2 stories as usual. In the front story, Vigilante starting to figure out he thinks he's a robot, but maybe he isn't, and maybe everything that he thought is wrong. And in the backup story, Peacemaker and a bunch of randos are being hunted by the League of Assassins. Pete has a question. What's up?
Hey, we recently had Tim Seeley on the show. Did we talk to him about this book at all? Or?
Sure did. And he actually had some interesting things to say, because Justin and I had talked to him about New York Comic Con right after the announcement. And he's like, yep, takes place between season 1 and season 2. And then DC very specifically was like, this is a unconnected story inspired by the Peacemaker TV show. So we talked to Tim about that, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he was very much like, surprised to me to hear that. Yeah, I wrote it, but okay.
But also sort of like
the guy who wrote it.
What's the big deal? It feels like what a weird. Why would they do that?
I think the main reason is kind of what he said, is like settling in, like it would be too big of a thing to be like, yeah, our Goof book is the first official DC Studios continuity thing that is coming out before Superman and before Peacemaker season 2. So they flipped it to be non-continuity so that they don't have to worry about it. They don't have to worry about fans being like, but you said in issue 3 of Peacemaker presents Vigilante Eagly, etc., etc.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. But I like these stories. I think I love the balance between the two. I think is really, pairing them together is really nice. The art, I like both of the artists, and there's a nice difference there between them.
Yeah, this is just fun. If you like the show, you'll love this ridiculous, over-the-top humor. But, man, I love Eagly and Peacemaker relationship. It's one of my favorite relationships. So I think it's fun, and it doesn't get old. So, yeah, I think it's...
Have you ever thought about getting into falconry?
Oh, man, have I.
You live in the woods.
Yeah, you're right. Well, I could have a falcon in this room. You know what I mean? I'm sure he'd be respectful of my comic book collection.
All you got to do is put a little bit of maybe a meatball, if you have access to one, on your arm, and they'll just come in and land.
That's a great idea. I'm going to get out there and try. See what lands on my arm.
Love that image of you out in the edge of a field being like, come, falcon.
What would your falcon be named, Pete?
Falcor.
Oh. All right. confusing.
Pretty different animal.
Yep.
But tracks, flying, sticking to what
He's
you
a
like.
luck dragon, but I'm going to allow it. Right. Daredevil, Cold Day in Hell, #2 from Marvel, written by Charles Soule, art by Steve McNiven. This is Old Man Dark Knight the Daredevil returns as Daredevil briefly has his powers back and uses it the way anybody with powers would, goes to visit Foggy Nelson.
Come on!
And he's like, hey, Foggy, could you go do some research for me? I was like, what? Why would you do that?
Because he always abuses Foggy. That's just how the relationship works.
That's why you love him.
I think it was great to see Foggy. I got emotional about it since, he's no longer in the TV show. So it was great to see Foggy alive somewhere. You know what I mean? So that was nice. But this is weird. Yeah, we're getting the Old Man Daredevil here story. McNiven's art is amazing, but it's also just kind of heartbreaking seeing Daredevil so old, still trying to fight and still trying to do the stuff. So it's kind of an emotional roller coaster to kind of go down this rabbit hole in this comic. But it's a hell of a team, and it's very kind of interesting premise. Also, we get a appearance by Elektra in here, spoilers, but she's not aged as much, so that's a kind of an interesting
She's the beast.
twist. Yeah.
Again, love seeing my Punisher, my Frank Castle in this comic.
Oh, yeah?
It's really, really great. And man, Steve McNiven not being shy about wrinkling up some characters in this comic.
Yeah.
Well, Steve McNiven also not being shy about very specifically aping Frank Miller. It's crazy. We even talk about it in the back matter a little bit, where I think it's Steve McNiven calls out Charles Soule for using the Dark Knight Returns panel structure for the book. Like, they're not shy about their influence there. This is Steve McNiven's art in a way that I've never seen before, because he's really pushing on the whole Miller of it all. But it works. Like, this story is there's a lot of danger here. This feels like, despite the fact that he had a very long run on Daredevil, this feels like Charles Soule's mission statement for Daredevil through and through, and every single page here. So I'm really liking the story a lot.
And I really love the Elektra scene stuff, like her coming out not aged a day.
Would you say they were electric between the two?
I mean, yes. I think that moment felt like very much like looking back on your first love. And there's a moment here that's really sad, I think, but also she's the devil, basically. So I thought it was just a really well done little piece of the story.
Great.
Black Hammer, Spiral City, #6 from Dark Horse Comics, written by Jeff Lemire, art by Teddy Christensen. In this issue, Inspector and Sector getting closer to find out who is the murderer on the loose in Spiral City, as our various other characters also draw closer as well. Pete, you seem upset. You okay?
Yeah, this is sad. We got Inspector and Sector. He's kind of fucking shit up a little bit in this. You know what I mean?
He's like, not doing much inspecting.
He says he's like a great detective, but like, man, he is just like any kind of little lead. He jumps on it, really thinks it's going to crack it open, and oh man, it's just heartbreaking, man. This guy is making a lot of mistakes.
Yes, but I think these are fun mistakes. I like watching this. I'm down with the Concretestador, if I'm saying that correctly. Yeah. Great character name. I like the way these threads are all coming together. Man, Inspector and Sector blows this case, and some people are paying the price. Really good horror energy to this.
Yeah, amazing art. The kind of stillness, the creepiness that kind of comes through in this art is really impressive. It's got a whole vibe to it.
The Kill Train, #5 from Mad Cave Studios, written by Olivia Cortero Briggs, art by Martina Niosi. This takes place in a hopefully satirical future New York.
No, this is a documentary, Alex.
Oh, my God. Oh,
yeah,
shit.
When was the last time you went in the city?
Was this the 2 train you think the Kill Train is? What do you think the Kill Train would be?
Yeah, probably the 2-3. I don't know, probably the 4-5-6. That train sucks.
Wow.
Really?
Both the F train would always fuck
the
me.
6
The Kill Train is definitely the F train. And like Pete, like I know you're just sort of wild and with just guessing about these trains.
Oh, fuck.
You're like, what are these trains? I'll take the 17 train or the Q the QP or whatever, because you don't know about it. You're a country boy.
Yeah. I'll tell you which train it's not. It's not the G train, because they'd be like, we're not killing anybody. Nobody rides this train because
There's only 2 cars on it.
Yeah.
It's awful. Anyway, it takes place in New York, where they randomly kill everybody on a subway train. We've been following one woman trapped on the kill train who is fighting her way to the front. The big shocking cliffhanger at the end of the last issue was her daughter was on board, except maybe she was hallucinating it, given she's been hallucinating a lot of things. I love this series. This ended in a way that I didn't expect at all. But
Yeah.
And I don't quite know how I feel about the ending, just because it feels like it wraps up tightly and quickly. But up until that point, I really enjoyed that. And I did not enjoy the ending. That didn't affect my enjoyment to the rest of this, but it threw me a little bit. That's it.
Well, I think also you loved something and you wanted to kind of go on a little bit, and the fact it kind of wrapped up at quickly and then kind of in one issue, I think maybe also got to you a little bit, you know?
Well, but the thing that I'm like, did the dream logic just become true here?
Yeah, that's what I wasn't sure about. I think that's what wasn't clear.
Because there's a moment where the premise of this is like, this is crazy, but then it's played very real for the first couple issues, and then it sort of flips the opposite way, where then it's like, yeah, you think that's crazy? She also is having these hallucinations, and in this issue, they're like, this is actually real. You're going from like a regular person to a jacked warrior type, and that just is the reality going forward. And there's an interesting idea there of like, we are who we are. Every day's a kill train in its own way, because everything's trying to drag you down. But if you're just a warrior, then you can get through it. But the book like lets us that happen in our heads so hard. It really shows more than most other comics do, rather than tell us. And I think we actually needed a little bit of tell somewhere in here to know what was actually happening. But I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome. But yeah, the moment where the daughter's like, look in the mirror, you are the jacked superhero that you thought you were. And I was like, oh man, I wish my mirror would look like that. But
Does that work instead of going to the gym?
It doesn't. You know what I mean? As much as I mind over matter, it's still not working out for me. But I do think that
Pete actually got a membership at the Fun House at the Carnival, and that seems to be
I mean, that's basically a Planet Fitness.
Yeah,
and let's remember. Let's just remind everyone that Alex and Alex has access to Pete's Fitbit data because of some weird pairing thing they did years ago.
Yeah. Do you want to know what Pete did today? I'll just
no, not today, dude. Today was not a good day for me.
Give me that step hit. You guys want to put our steps? You guys want to put our steps back to back? What do we got? Hit that steps.
Here we go. Pete. Ooh, yeah, you were. You're right,
I was
Pete.
not
This
feeling
wasn't
well
great.
today. Yeah.
Yeah,
But Tuesdays are not good exercise days for me.
Exercise was 4 of 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You were standing
I'm reading
a lot.
comics all day. What the fuck, man?
15 of 12 hours. Do you read your comics standing up? What's going on there?
Sometimes, dude. Yeah.
Oh, man.
What are the steps?
You only went, steps were 3,301.
Yeah.
30,000 people.
Yeah. It's not a. I'm reading comics. I'm kind of, you know.
I was also reading comics today, Pete, but I somehow managed to walk 11,427.
You also live in New York City, you piece of fucking shit, so I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah, we got to deal with a kill train. You just got to walk a little.
Yeah, exactly.
11,637, Alex. I edged you a little bit, but shouts to you. That's a lot. I went running today. You're just walking around all those steps?
Yeah.
Wow. How?
He paces in his home.
No, it's walking my son to school and then walking back. It's good exercise.
He goes to school at Harvard, right?
Yeah. It's uphill both ways.
Yeah, don't get me started on that. That's a whole thing right now.
Yeah.
Deadpool Wolverine #5 from Marvel, written by Benjamin Percy, art by Joshua Cassara. In this issue, Wolverine and Deadpool are still dealing with attack from Strife, or are they? As one of the wilder but more confusing last pages of an issue reveals maybe the true villain behind everything. But in between that, you get a little Maverick, you get some flashbacks, you get some zombies, a bone dragon. Lots going on in this book.
Yeah, this book's wild. And I love the Strife. I mean, Strife's sort of the main character here. Like, this story is about Strife. Deadpool and Wolverine are just sort of being like, what are we doing? Put on this armor? I guess. And Maverick's is doing a lot of stuff, too. And I'm like, this book is just sort of wild from a narrative perspective. But I got to say, I liked the last page.
Yeah.
Just what is going on there? I did not get what was happening, because we get this split between Wolverine, Strife, and the reveal is Apocalypse seems to be behind everything. So is Apocalypse controlling Strife, who's controlling Wolverine? Is that what's happening?
Yes, I think that's the implication. Do you think it's crazy they have the same size head?
Yes.
This last page would...
I thought it was crazy that Strife's head had his metal helmet on, despite the fact that he's not wearing it on the previous page.
Great call. But, I mean, literally, Wolverine's a tiny little bub, while Apocalypse is a giant, like, he's like an elongated man, a word I use all the time. So, like, I don't know what's the deal with that.
Well, but Apocalypse can change his side, right? He was probably like, for the sake of this three-way split of our heads... I'm going to make my
He shrunk his head down. He pinheaded himself for Wolverine.
Oh, that's nice of him. Okay. So that way Wolverine doesn't get, weird about his head size,
That's the thing about Apocalypse is the name brings a lot of weight with it, and he has a lot of villainy behind him, but he's always thinking about the artists.
Always. Yeah. And that's super nice, especially in comic books. I think this is a blast. It continues to be fun. It's great action. It has a fun style to it. I love the look of this comic. This is kind of a fun twist at the end there, so I'm excited to see how this is all going to unfold, because right now it's not looking good for our boys here.
Yeah, they're definitely going to lose. One last thing about that, though. Let's just remember that Apocalypse, for all of his menace, he had a whole side universe that we're revisiting soon in the Marvel Comics. He really his thing is stretching. Let's just remember that's his whole thing. It's just stretching out a little bit longer. It's his power. Yeah. Stretchy.
The Department of Truth, number 30 from Image Comics, written by James Tynion IV, art by Martin Simmons. Lots of stuff going on in this issue as we check in with various members of the cast. One of them is talking to a homeless dude and telling him that everything that you thought about your life and how the government is coming down on you is true. Another one of the cast is talking to his boyfriend and trying to settle things there. They're both trying to make things better in the Department of Truth, but meanwhile, Lee Harvey Oswald makes a big move that leads into talking to a certain president of the United States about a way of making America great again at the end there. Lots of things happening.
I mean, I was like, oh, this comic just keeps grinding ahead. Like, I like some of the art choices here. We get into, like, a cartoony style that I was like, you didn't need to do this, but it felt interesting and fresh. And then that last page, I was like, where are we going here?
I kind of feel like they're heading towards the whole point of the book, which is that Trump has created his own objective reality that we are being forced to live in on a daily basis. I don't know if they're going to be explicit there because they keep him in shadow, but it's clear whose hairline it is, and it's clear who they're referring to as the president.
I mean, they say, make America great again.
Yeah. So
it's a little bit of a clue.
So I don't know. I don't know how long this title is going on, but it really feels like, that page to me snapped in, maybe this is the point of this entire series.
Well, but I also was like, I feel like you can't do it much more. Once you land there, it's like that's sort of
you wrap it up in like an issue, 2 issues, and that's it.
So you think the woman with the X's over her eyes is Melania?
Whoa. Probably.
Is that the point?
Yeah.
Wow.
Cool.
Artistically, this is a very impressive book. It's got a very unique look and feel to it. I can't really follow a lot of what's ever happening, but I show up every time excited to try, and I think that says a lot about how great this book is.
It says a lot about you, Pete, as a real warrior.
I also appreciated the section about the Avril Lavigne replacement theory, because I had completely forgotten about that. So,
oh wow, how dare you?
Sorry. Superman number 26 from DC Comics, written by Joshua Williamson, art by Eddie Barrows, Sean Isaacs, and Eber Ferreira. In this issue, Superman is dealing with some red kryptonite sickness that is driving him mad. And Lex Luthor is in prison, and there's a bunch of other stuff going on.
Yeah. This is kind of a crazy cool kind of cover here. It's set in a creepy tone. You got to lay off the red kryptonite. You know what I mean? Those kids are always doing that red kryptonite, and it's just not good for you. It'll drive you crazy. I did appreciate, even Lex Luthor can get yelled at by his daughter. You know what I mean? So there's a real, you can kind of really relate to Lex Luthor in a way that you haven't been able to before.
Do you have a daughter that yells at you?
What are you?
I'm just saying that people have daughters, and they probably yell at them. And that happens to Lex Luthor too, just because he's a supervillain doesn't mean he's above it.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice.
I mean? Yeah.
There's a lot going on in the story that Joshua Williamson has set up here. I like so much of it, and this is like able to pay each of those moments off, while still dealing with the big implication from the last issue about Lois, which losing her powers, which was like a bummer, and pitting Lex, being like, I can help you out with that. It's going to be a problem in your marriage. Seeing Lois going through a little bit, like, there's just great emotionality in the midst of like a wildly plotted book.
Also fun, kind of last page reveal of the Tron Zorro at the end there. It's exciting.
Yes. What's her name? Madam
Moonlight?
Yeah, sure.
Marilyn Moonlight?
Marilyn Moonlight, yes. Yeah. Classic character. Magic number 5 from Marvel, written by Ashley Allen, art by German Peralta. This is the end of the first arc as Magic comes straight for the Liminal, who's trying to take over our dimension and wants to release the Dark Child from Magic. We talked on our State of X podcast about this being one of the best of the best titles. Do you think it kept that headline title, moniker, whatever you want to call it, with the end of the first arc here?
I call it a moniker, one of my favorite characters from Friends, and this does continue to be the best. It does a great job of balancing sort of some complicated continuity and relationships, the Ileana and Danny relationship. Really well done here, and just goes through a series of phases throughout this issue on its own. But I got to highlight the last 3 pages, which is maybe some of the most human Scott Summers I've seen in literally years of the X-Men continuity. And I think this is just so necessary. Like, this is what I want more from the main X-Men book that Jed McKay's doing. Is Scott walks down in Alaska into the, they live in a Sentinel, but he's going down to make some pancakes. He walks in, he's yawning. He's just chit-chatting with Ileana about, you're really good, actually, making her pancakes. It was really sweet. It's actually just 2 pages. And man, I want more of this and the rest.
I do have a question about the pancakes, though. Did it bother you at all that he made those pancakes so quickly over the course of just a couple of panels? He took the mixed them up, put them in the pan, flipped them over, served the pancakes, all in a matter of probably 3-4 sentences, he was saying?
When you live in Alaska for a little bit, I think you just get fast at that kind of stuff. It's more, that's flapjack
just in the
country.
cold, you got to do it before you freeze.
Yeah, you got to have a hearty breakfast. Down here in New York, Pete, you like this. We just get by on little bits of granola to get through our day. Pete's from a place where he has to eat a elk ear or something to get going.
Yeah, that's the real country. You know what I mean? Where they have a big breakfast.
That's what I say whenever I see Pete. I'm like, get me to God's country, and that's where you live.
I was having a great time with Magic here. She kind of fights the devil's side a little bit, but then asking Scott Summers for help, I was just like, don't ask him for advice or talk to this fucking douchebag.
This was some nice
all
Scott.
credibility.
Don't be a jerk.
Ruined all credibility for me. It all went out the window. But I do agree with JT Sizzle that this has been great. And a lot goes down in this issue, which is cool.
Feral, number 13 from Image Comics, written by Tony Fleece, art by Trish Forstner and Tone Rodriguez. In this issue, our cats are trying to get inside of a pet store that is a safe haven from the rabies-infected hordes that have been attacking them. Of course, things go probably from bad to worse. over the course of the issue. What'd you guys think about this?
Well, first off, just a menacing cover, great cover here that we're staring at. So that's
cats and dogs.
Yeah, living together, mass hysteria. I just think this is continues to be solid. Tony Fleece is just unbelievable, and you have this adorable looking team going through some crazy adventures, and just when you think they're safe, get to the pet store where they can have all the food they want. Oh no, not so easy. Enjoying all the twists and turns of this epic kind of adventure for our team here. So yeah, this continues to be solid.
The way that they're able to just keep this story expanding is amazing. It doesn't ever feel like it's slowing down. It feels like it was always meant to be this length. I don't know if that's true. When we first started reading this, it feels like, oh, this is like a great 10 issue series. Still going 13, going strong. I love the way that this keeps finding new areas.
Yeah, this is issue 13, but I hope they are going on 30.
Oh.
Who Are the Power Pals? Number 3 from Dark Horse Comics, written by Dwayne Murray, art by Ahmed Rafat. If you didn't listen to our interview with Dwayne Murray a couple of weeks back, check that out. We talked about this book. But this follows 2 washed up teen stars who decide to try to be superheroes in real life to get fame back. They're at odds about how they should be doing that. But things come to a head this issue between our 2 friends. What'd you think?
Yeah, they kind of getting themselves in a little bit more trouble here. Love the art, love the storytelling on this. Classic, you can't throw your keys in a pool. You know what I mean? You're eventually going to need those keys again. Everybody knows
that's a great place to keep stuff, though.
Well, I can appreciate that. It's a creative place to keep stuff.
Because no one's going to get them.
Well, you could jump in and get them. You know what I mean? Anybody could jump in the pool and get the keys. You know what I mean?
Unless they can't swim. You ever thought about that?
No, you got me.
Gotcha.
I didn't think about it.
I win this round.
They could just go fishing and not. You know what I mean?
You're going to catch a key with a fishing pole?
That's right. You can.
How do you,
what
magnet? Do you bait that with? Oh, magnet. Okay.
Yeah.
Not like a worm that a key eats.
Yeah, you can train worms to eat keys, I guess. But
the worm eats the key.
Yeah.
That's the one quote I want to pull from this episode. Is like, you can train worms, says Pete. Really nice. That's some country living right there, Pete, England. I enjoy this. This is fun. I also like the story, though. Like, we have them at odds. I think we're going to come together in the next issue and maybe try to survive. I like the way that the villain's plan heightened to, like, there's a nuclear component here from a regular gang villain. I was like, shouts, go hard, King.
Go hard.
Cable, Love and Chrome, number 5 from Marvel, written by David Pepose, art by Mike Henderson. This is the final issue of this book after the big revelation of the last issue that Cable's girlfriend is his greatest enemy. The 2 of them are tumbling through time. Cicada. They're tumbling through time to basically kill each other. Guess who's successful and guess who's not? You'll find out by the end of the issue with a little bit of romance and a little bit of heartache.
Oh, wow. This one goes out to... Yeah, I think this is a blast. We talked about in our X-Men State of podcast how much we love this. So, yeah, I think this continues to be fun. We're kind of getting this... of course, with Cable, we're dealing with time, so we're kind of getting this out of order, this quote-unquote love story, if you will. So some interesting twists and turns on this. We're getting the love, not so much the chrome in this ish, but I'm glad we're getting it.
But we get a lot of chrome on the cover because you got Cable fighting Cable.
That's chrome on chrome.
That's chrome on chrome. It's like Pete trying to hook up a DVD player so he can watch Happy Gilmore. Cable on Cable is not going to go well. A heartbreaking issue. But came together well. Very fast and loose with the time traveling here, to the point where Cable's like, hey, man, this shit's out of control. And the way it resolves, I thought, was just sort of like, nope, it was actually fine in a good emotional place as well.
Assorted Crisis Events, number 3 from Image Comics, written by Dennis Camp, art by Eric Zawadzki. In this issue, well, this series is an anthology series focusing on a world that is constantly experiencing these different crisis events per the title. Here we are getting two towns, Hearth 1 and Hearth 2 that are populated by Hearthlings. You get it. Yeah. And Hearth 2 is being destroyed faster than Hearth 1. So the Hearthlings from Hearth 2 head to Hearth 1 and expect to be given safe harbor, but it doesn't quite turn out that way. Very similar to the previous issues of this book. This is a very present, very timely story about immigration, how we treat our neighbors, how as well as climate change, among other things. But I was pretty shocked to read both this and Department of Truth in the same week, because we got the Department of Truth reveal at the end, and then here we get references to they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, among many other things that are not this week timely, but pretty timely for a comic book schedule.
Well, they're timely from many months ago, but seem to be constantly refreshed in our current politics. I think I maybe made the comparison of this and Ice Cream Man recently, and this is like Ice Cream Man if you're shifting slightly out of horror and into sci-fi and politics. So if you're a fan of Ice Cream Man, I think you'll also like this book. And I am in that camp, that Deniz camp.
Oh, man, you're going camping again?
Always camping.
Always be camping. I do think this is very creative and artistically well done. It's just hard when you're trying to pull for one hearth over the other, and they're just making horrible decisions. And it's like, man, I don't know which hearth to win. You know what I mean? It's just like, you want two to be better than one, but, is it? You know what I mean? So it's tough.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel like maybe the point is they're kind of the same and treating each other as if they're different, but I don't know. That's just me intuiting something.
Oh, right.
That's
interesting.
Good.
All right, Cornell.
Minor Arcana #7 from Boom Studios, written by Jeff Lemire, art by Letizia Cadanici. In this issue, our psychic skeptic, who has become a bit of a psychic believer, is exploring her powers in a mystery in a town. The real standout here, though, I thought, is Letizia Cadanici on art, guesting in. And nothing against Jeff Lemire. I think Letizia Cadanici is a better match for this title.
Oh,
really?
Yeah, I think
shots fired.
Love Jeff Lemire's art, but there's something about how Letizia draws the characters that just fits them so much better and gives them a little more expressiveness rather than the very sketchy Jeff Lemire style. Yeah. Jeff's art works for a lot of different things, and I think it's fine here, but this issue elevated it.
Just fine.
Well, but looking back, seeing it with the way that it's drawn here, I'm like, oh, this is how I want to see this world.
Well, it's a little cleaner, to your point, but I think the important thing is that it's really in the family of Jeff Lemire's art, so I think it works really well. And I've been enjoying this comic more and more each issue. I feel like it's building a nice situation. Yes. Our main character has went from being deeply miserable to more skeptical of her choices in the past and dipping her toe into this more magical world, which is really cool.
Yeah, I do agree with the JT says that this is building nicely. I really love this issue. I feel like we're really kind of getting a lot of information in here. We're getting info on the murders and getting clues. Then we get the kind of big reveal in the last couple of panels. This is exciting. I'm having a blast with this. And, I don't have to shit on Jeff Lemire's art to enjoy what this is.
I'm not shitting on his art.
I think this is great art. I think Jeff Lemire also has great art. But, yeah, I'm enjoying where this is going and getting very excited about what's to come.
Eddie Brock, Carnage, #4 from Marvel, written by Charles Soule, art by Juanan Ramirez. In this issue, Carnage and Eddie Brock are coming straight for Muse. Misty Knight is closing in on him as well. And I gotta say, to throw a spoiler out right at the front here, big week for Eddie Brock getting set on fire.
Yeah.
Yes. But I like this. I think this book, there's a great twist in the middle here that I think got me. Though it made me think, how much was this space set up? Is it actually Muse's murder victims, or did Eddie...
Yeah, I mean, to talk about it specifically, Eddie Brock tricks Carnage to find out what Carnage did with these plane victims. And I don't know if they will, but it definitely feels like we need a flashback to, wait, what was Eddie doing and when did he do this?
Yeah. Yes.
Which we might get. Like, we were definitely getting Carnage's perspective on things and Carnage manipulating Eddie from behind the scenes. So... I mean, I don't know what'll happen in the next issue, but I do think it's worth it to be like, flashback, here's how we got to this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do agree, though. This is great. I think this is fun and cool, and I like this Muse versus Carnage showdown that's building and coming. So, I thought they did a great job.
Well, but it's not coming because Eddie faked it, right?
We'll see.
And maybe, I mean, I don't think he killed Carnage, but they're not going to be getting along come next issue. I thought the last page was excellent.
Yeah.
The Power Fantasy, number 9 from Image Comics, written by Kieran Gillen, art by Casper Wingard. Lots of stuff going down in this issue as our superpowers all are like ready to blow is kind of what it feels like. Like everybody individually is starting to reach these crisis points, but we get some surprising twists and turns with each of them as certain things are revealed, emotions are changed. I know I'm being very vague here, but the essential premise of the book is that these superpowers can never get together because it would be the end of the world. But this issue in particular, I think, is like poking holes in that premise as all of the characters do not go in the way that, at the very least, Etienne, who is our psychic Professor X type, seems to think they will be going.
Yeah, what I love about this comic is it's able to look forward and backward in equal measure and have it all amount to a forward-moving narrative. Like, that feels so hard. And then this also feels like the most modern understanding of superheroics that I've ever read. I don't think anyone's matching this at all. And the way that, like, these superpowered people spend most of the issue, a lot of them just are chatting because they are extremely powerful. So they're like, 2 of them are getting coffee, some of them just hanging out, talking about these like major issues that could destroy the world at any moment. But it's treated very casually, which I think is how we all live and talk about scary world events in the same way. And it's just a great mirror to ourselves while at the same time showing us how superheroes would be in a real world right now.
Yeah, I agree. It's really impressive. Also, a very cool cover. I really love the art style and the panel work. I love the pace and the vibe of this comic. Last couple of panels, emotional, and this continues to be great.
I also wanted to say the term, I was thinking about the title of the book as I was reading this issue, The Power Fantasy. This is all about these people like exercising power over each other, but I think there's going to be a lot of undercutting here. It's about the power fantasy, how none of this is actually working, I think, is maybe the point of the comic.
We shall see. And that is it for the stack. If you'd like to support the show and all the shows we do, patreon.com/comic book club. Also, we do a live show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. to Facebook and YouTube. Come hang out. We would love to talk to you about comics. Apple, Spotify, Android, or the app of your choice to subscribe, listen, and follow the show. comicbookclublive.com for this podcast and many more. Until next time, we'll see you at the Comic Book Club.
Eat your meatballs, guys, and let's have not just a moment of silence, but an entire week until we see you again.
Aww.
And tune in next week to find out which Robin is getting fucked by Batman.